So actually, let me introduce you to
Okay.
the world. I have one super amazing, impressive coach sitting in front of me, and Coach Lisa. I actually first thought you were from Lithuania because of your last name, but it's actually Greek.
Yeah.
Um, and so Lisa is a women's basketball head coach at University of Saskatchewan, uh, to which I almost committed. Definitely top choice. The only thing that was holding me back was studies. And she's also now a head coach for Germany's national team, leading them to the Olympic Games now, which
hmm
is amazing. She has been one of the best coaches in Canada for sure. 8 years as a head coach for Canada's national team, 11 years as assistant coach. Yeah, actually leading Germany's national team first time in 26 years in knockout rounds. So that's huge. And so many times you've been named as a coach of the year, also this year. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
Um, so uh, I have a few questions for
Yeah,
Coach
you do.
Lissa, and I do. And I think a lot of coaches and a lot of players actually can learn from our conversation today. Mm. But before I actually ask a question, we were touching a little bit on playing in Canada and playing in US because European players do not know much about
Yeah.
Canada. And I am trying to actually change this a bit because I have both experiences and I have something to compare.
Yeah.
And Canada is definitely a really, really good option if you want to be happy and play at a high level. And it's not low level. Like players
Yep.
I played against, super high. And many of them are actually pro players, like Sabine.
Yeah.
She was a
Yeah.
pro player in Europe and then she came to Canada. So
Yeah.
that's a high level.
Yeah. Completely. It's like you said, it's a great option. For, it has to be the right fit, but
Mm-hmm.
certainly high level education, high level of basketball,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I think probably a little bit more European in terms of lifestyle and culture than perhaps the US. So maybe the adjustment is a little bit less.
Yeah. And also, I think one of the things that might be holding some players back is because in Europe, not many families can afford like education in North
Yeah.
America. So like that financial aspect, because if you get like full ride in the States, you're kind of good. But if you
Yep.
come to Canada, mm, options are little limited, but
Yes.
you can definitely get by. Like,
Yep. That's you just have to be a little more creative, with whether it's like part-time work or support through, the community or donors. There's
mm-hmm,
definitely opportunities there. It's not just the carte blanche of like a free ride, but certainly tuition and compulsory fees can be covered through scholarships. And then there's always opportunity for academic scholarships. And like I said, other areas to be able to make some money. But
mm-hmm.
yeah, there's a lot of great opportunity, and I think it can be life changing for people who make the courageous decision to come here.
Life changing for me.
Yeah.
And actually, like as a grad student, like in my master's program, like I was working part time, so I got money in on like on campus. I was working, but I also
Yes.
like got lots of money as a grad student through
Yeah.
like teaching assistantship and research assistantship. So it was
Yeah.
like covering everything. It was even more than I could expect.
Yeah. You can actually make some money. Yeah. Especially for
Mm,
high achievers, academics like yourself, there's even more opportunity. So, yeah, I just think the more they find out about the system here, I mean, it's just an opportunity to change their life, hey, and to like have a better
mm-hmm,
future. Like with Sabina, like she's now married and has a child, and she brought her mom here. Like it
mm-hmm.
truly has changed the trajectory of her life. So just love to see those types of stories and those types of people succeed and do well. And yeah,
Yeah,
so it's fun to
it's
be part of that.
it's amazing, and for me as well. Like once I hit my foot
Totally.
in Canada, like
hit my
I
foot in
had a
Canada.
feeling, like I had a feeling this is the place I have to be. Like
Really,
I had this good happiness feeling, and I'm still here. It's been 6 years.
it's incredible.
Yeah. But I'm really happy that I get to see you. I don't know, you
Yeah,
kind of like
same.
stuck to my heart, mind. I think you're a
Aw,
really cool coach.
aw, you're so nice. We were so like wishing that you would, that we would get a chance to work with you, but obviously things have all worked out super well, and that's all that you can hope for.
Yeah, the only thing really was the studies. Like I didn't want to go step back and do another
Totally,
bachelor's degree. I wanted to
totally.
just roll in right into grad school.
Yeah, and that worked out really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And
Yeah, hopefully the word continues to get out there, and we keep attracting like high quality and character people like yourself, and good basketball players. And again, just there's yeah, a lot of good stuff that's happening here. It's an exciting time for sure.
yeah, it is exciting time. But that's for later. That's our
For sure. For sure.
last question. But okay, first question. You were introduced to basketball, I would say by not by accident, but like it wasn't like you knew what you want for sure. You're going for basketball. You had
Yeah.
tryouts in volleyball and basketball planned at McMaster University. But I want you to share your story, like how you got drawn to this sport. And did you play before university?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was a very different time back then. Um, you know, like I look at the opportunities now, and young girls, what they can be doing at a very young age, whether it's playing club or, just community programming. There's just so much opportunity. When I was commit, I played in high school. I played a little bit before then. High school really was a turning point. I had a great group of friends that were all into sport, and I think that's huge for women. They have to. I think a lot of times young girls need to have their peers involved, and that really kind of hooks them into what sport is all about, and um, which is a lot of creating relationships and having good friendships through sport and being able to compete with and against your peers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a great time for me. And then, wasn't really sure that I was going to be able to go on and play at university level, but thankfully I'm 6'2", and so my height had a great deal to do with my ability to go on and play. So, in high school, I would say my work ethic was not the strongest, and so again, just not sure if I was cut out for that. And so was thinking of maybe trying out for volleyball or basketball. Our teams in high school were quite good. I played every sport. Um, and so I just
Mm-hmm.
love sport. And thankfully was chosen for the basketball team, and got connected with a very impactful group of women during that time that were my teammates. Very strong women who to this day we're all very close friends.
Oh,
And
that's nice.
yeah, so it was a great experience, and even then, my first couple of years, I barely touched the floor. I wasn't very good back then, and we had a very strong team, and was even considering whether I would continue on. And there was a coaching change at McMaster, and the current coach who's there now, Teresa Burns, was hired, and yeah, she made a huge difference in the trajectory of my life. So that kind of
Mm-hmm.
changed things for me, really like turned me onto the sport, made me realize, what can happen when you do really commit to something and work hard. And yeah, it's amazing. After that happened, you see some success, and that's kind of how it all started. University was an awesome experience. Like it
Mm-hmm.
was, it's life changing. It really like sets you on a course for what you're going to do later on in figuring out what you want to aspire to do. And like I said, I had a great group of teammates that they were some tough competitive women, and they really
Mm-hmm.
taught me a lot about the sport and how to play and how to compete. And yeah, so I was super fortunate. And then of course my coach, who's continued to be a great friend of mine throughout life.
Oh, that's really good.
Hmm.
The connection. Okay, and then after university, you played 2 seasons in Greece, the
I
like
did. Yeah.
first league,
Yeah.
top league, and then you got a knee injury. So
Yep.
That was like career cutting injury.
Yep.
Um, how is that like the challenge to?
Yeah. I mean, the opportunity to go and play in another country, as you know, is such a great life experience. I wouldn't have traded it for anything.
Mm,
It was amazing to be able to do that. Yeah, unfortunately or fortunately, like got injured. As crappy as it was to end my professional career, I mean, at the end of the day, I was a good player, but I wasn't going to, play 10 years and make a living from it. I was good enough to play over there, and that was great. But, there had to be something afterwards. And so the injury cut my playing career short, but it really forced the issue of, okay, what are you going to do next? And so, as tough as it was, because a big part of my identity was wrapped up around being a basketball player at that time, um, it was okay, let's welcome to reality here. Now it's what are you actually going to do for a living? And yeah, so that's, I just happened to find out about the University of Saskatchewan position opening up. Um, and really the athletic director and my coach encouraged me to apply because I was not going to apply because I thought of course I wouldn't be qualified, didn't have any
mm,
experience. I was really an assistant just 1 year at McMaster after I finished playing, and yeah, ended up throwing my application in on the very last day. And thankfully the my references were very strong. The athletic director at McMaster at the time was probably the most respected athletic director in the country. So her word went a long way and ended up getting the job. So again, from like a real crappy situation with the injury, it was life changing in such a positive way for me
mm-hmm.
because it started me on my coaching path.
Yeah, lucky University of Saskatchewan.
It was crazy. I didn't know a soul here. I didn't know one person. I really didn't know anything about the program. I think if I had done a little more research, maybe I wouldn't have agreed to the job. I think they had won 3 games in the last 4 years combined before coming here. But heck, like I was 25, 26 at the time. I'm like, I've got no other options. Like,
Mm,
of course I'm going to take the job. I think I had a 3 year contract when I first signed. And when I left, I was like, well, I'll be back in 3 years because I'm sure this isn't, going to go beyond that.
mm-hmm.
But anyway, 25 years later, here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
You created the best program in Canada, in my
Oh,
eyes. I mean, what
thank
we
you.
faced, definitely University of Saskatchewan, tough to play against. So since we transitioned already to coaching, but like being a player and then a coach, like
Yeah.
how does that help you or like shape your philosophy
Yeah.
as a coach?
Yeah. I think back in the day when I was a young coach, it was, I could really relate to what our student athletes were feeling and going through, and um, understanding that quite often the athlete is their own worst enemy or their biggest critic, right? And I think at the time as a coach, I really tried to approach it from that perspective. Like
Mm,
criticism is not going to get the best out of your athletes. Um, and to really try to relate and understand. And I think again, being closer in age back in the day was again a difficult thing, but also a really positive thing. So that was an interesting experience. I mean, again, when I first came here, my peers really should be the athletes that I'm coaching, but you can't have that kind of relationship when you're so
mm,
close in age. But then, my colleagues at the university, they're in a much different age bracket, different stage of life. So it was a really kind of weird kind of spot that I was in.
mm,
Um, I did not have many friends because of that weird dynamic, and it actually worked out okay because really all I did was work in those first few years trying to just figure out how in the world can we become competitive.
mm-hmm,
So it ended up being an okay situation for a program that was trying to get it turned around, and for me just trying to figure out um, what I was going to be like as a coach and how things were going to look like professionally. So I was
mm-hmm,
really fortunate back in those early days that we had some incredible student athletes. that were just like so eager to learn and to improve. And same with my assistant coach for a few years. He's like the only male assistant coach I've had in 25 years, but
Mm,
he was a medical student and he had worked with the team the previous year or two. And so he stayed on, and his name's Ron Taylor, and he was just such a great help and support for me when I first got started.
mm-hmm. And you mentioned like, you know, not knowing what to do after you finish your basketball career,
Yeah.
because that identity is really attached to athletes. But like
Yes.
also to become a coach, you have to have that calling. I think like it's such a commitment, like for the as
Yeah.
long as you're a coach, it's such a commitment away from like family and everything.
Yes.
Did you have that like passion, or you were not sure in the beginning?
Yeah. Early on, I remember there was, I think because my university coach had such an impact on me as a player, but also as a
Mm,
person, um, that really resonated. And I'm like, you know what, that'd be like really incredible to be able to do that.
mm-hmm,
And but at the time, I remember thinking, I was going through my list of like Canadian universities and just like thinking, is there any opportunity to be able to do this as a career? So
mm-hmm,
again, back then, that was a time when university coaches, they were either like faculty members or they were professors who also coached. And many of them had been doing it for 20 years. So I remember going through, okay, University of Toronto. Oh, yeah, Michelle Belanger, she's been there for 30 years. McMaster, yep, Teresa's been there forever. York University, Bill Pangos, he's been there for 20 years.
mm,
It's just like Angela Orton at Guelph. Um, and just going through the list and thinking, you know, there's no way I would be able to coach in Canada because all these coaches have been here for a long time. It's not like there's these jobs that pop up here, there, and everywhere. It's very different now, but at that time, that was the
mm-hmm,
landscape. And but yeah, I'd coached a bit when I was playing at university. I had an opportunity to coach some younger teams and involved with Ontario basketball, and yeah, really loved it. And
mm-hmm,
started to think about it as a potential career, but not super seriously, just again thinking that it wasn't a viable option.
mm-hmm. But you see, when you think it's definitely not gonna be for the rest of your life, it becomes the rest of your life.
Yes, yes, it's crazy how that happens.
Yeah. And I think like sometimes people are really scared to like it's kind of that imposter syndrome. Oh, I'm not good enough. Like I don't
Totally.
qualify. Just like fake it till
Totally.
you make it. You just jump in, just say yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's a
so true.
yeah
I mean,
good
the
example.
imposter syndrome exists. Like, still have it to this day.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really go away. I think it's something that if you have it, and especially for women, it's a very real thing.
Mm,
But it's also a driver, right? It's also a motivator.
mm-hmm. But high
So,
achievers, they usually don't feel ever totally satisfied. Like there's always
yes.
room for improvement.
Yes, yes. I guess some of the things that go along with being a perfectionist, and I would very much identify with that,
Mm-hmm.
is like never feeling you've done enough. You can always be better. Yeah, what else can you be doing to help your team? So definitely good and bad things come from that, but I think probably more good than bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, more good. And it's also how you look at it, the mindset.
For sure.
Um, okay, this is one of my favorite things now. We are turning towards
Uh-oh.
your players speak very
Yes.
highly of you. And I haven't been your player, but definitely I think of you as a very good coach and person. But they say that they always mention this respect they have towards you and you have towards them. And it's this mutual respect. And why do you think this like relationship is really important for a successful team dynamic?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean the respect piece. I mean, if you're going to be leading a group of people, I feel like that's kind of the minimum requirement. That's like kind of the price of admission. That's the very least you can possibly do because you're going to be asking these people, and in our case, women, to be doing very difficult things.
Mm,
And respect is kind of at the base of it, and then trust has to be a huge part of it too. It's really, really hard to be good at anything. And so, yeah, you're asking them to do these things that are really uncomfortable, really difficult, really, stretching them. And so that just has to be a given. And I think you have to invest in your people to make sure that you know, they understand you care about them and
Mm-hmm.
you want the best for them. And so for me, I want to see them succeed. And again, what they're going to do is they're not going to enjoy it all the time, but hopefully you can paint a picture for them like it's going to be all worth it at the end of it.
Mm-hmm. But like, I'm sure you had players who show some attitude or don't buy in. Um,
Yeah.
how do you like notice those red flags during the recruiting process and you just don't take them, or like have you had someone in the team and then you have to kind of like deal with them and
Yeah.
or kick out? I don't know.
Yeah. They have come along for sure. There have been some that have shown some flags. And I think I always come at it from the perspective of I always, believe in people are innately good and want to do well
Mm-hmm.
and want to be their best and want to um, achieve. And so I always kind of come at it like, okay, what's their motivation? How can we figure out how to get the best out of them? And how can we kind of maybe mold some of their behavior? Um, but I'd say the vast majority of student athletes that I've had the opportunity to work with are high achievers, innately driven, super high character. Like, honestly, I've been so, so fortunate to work with the quality of student athlete that I have been able to work with. But yeah, there's definitely the ones that are bigger challenges, and it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort, and again, some mutual understanding, but really starts with the relationship, the respect, the trust,
Mm-hmm.
and earning that trust from them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wasn't it difficult from Sabina to gain trust?
Oh, yes. She she was the most difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think she would be surprised to hear me say that. But again, like circumstances, right? And her upbringing
Mm-hmm.
and her background and her like so much that she had to deal with. And so again, just trying to gain an understanding of where she's coming from and what kind of uh like what her values are and what experiences she's had before here.
Mm-hmm.
So but again, the hardest ones are the ones that are most rewarding for sure.
Mm. That's I believe that. But now you're in Germany also coaching. Do you notice this difference between like, North Americans and
Yes,
European players? Like, what are
for
the
sure.
most significant things
Oh
you can
goodness.
pinpoint?
It's funny because a couple of the German athletes last year, I think towards the end of the tournament, asked me, "Okay, well, like what do you tell your friends back home? Like what's your perception of German athletes?" And they could be a little bit different than some other
Mm-hmm.
European athletes, but particularly with them, what struck me almost immediately was they are such rule followers. They are black and white. If you tell them this is the expectation or this is what we're doing, they do it. They don't
Of
stray
course
from
they
it.
are. Look at
It's
the history.
incredible. Yes. Exactly.
But yeah.
Like there's no one that's ever late. They are on time. They do exactly as they're told. And so that was a little bit different, like the North
Mm,
American culture is not as like strict and stringent, and they really were. Um, but as you know, in basketball, it sometimes isn't the best thing to be so black and white. And what quite often what I say is like the sport is played in the gray, so they want to know exactly what to do in this situation all the time. And even some of our
mm,
Canadian athletes. And okay, well, like we can tell you and help you and guide you through maybe this situation, but it's not going to be the same every time. It's always dynamic and different. So
Mm-hmm.
that was one thing. Um, they were so, again, like kind of like my early days at Sask here, and early days with Canada basketball. They were just so eager to learn. And they were the ones fighting with the federation to try to get more time together, to get more training time together, not more time off, but like how can we be working towards, where they wanted to go. They were very driven.
Mm.
They had a vision for where they wanted the national team to be. And so that was all like really cool to come into that environment and just to see how driven and how committed they were. Like there were 30-year-old athletes that had been involved for a number of years with the national team and had never been to Eurobasket, and this was their first opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And just how excited they were for that, and also like kind of like kids in a candy store, like just at Eurobasket, just whoa, like this experience they'd never been to. Um, and just kind of realizing how many things we had to explain and kind of fill them in to get them prepared for what they were going to face. So it was
Mm.
a really exciting time.
Wow, but that's so good for you as well because mm, that passion they have, that drive, not every national team has it. Like some people don't even want to play on national team. But I'm
Yes.
wondering, like, did they have this feeling all the time, or because you were put in as something significant and someone who can change around the thing, the program, that's what gave them the motivation and hope? What do you
Yeah,
think?
maybe for some, but I think for most of them, they had it.
Mm,
Like this is something they had been working towards, and I think it's kind of a moment where it was just like the perfect timing.
mm-hmm,
You've got some of these older athletes who've committed and been there all the time, some younger ones entering into the prime of their careers, um, and then some others who have, kind of been there, done that. But again, I think there was some renewed energy and passion for sure. But they had achieved in February the ticket to the Eurobasket, and then I was hired like in May, kind of last minute on a like a really. I just got an email from a friend of mine
yeah.
and asked if I was interested in the job because I wasn't looking for it. And I just kind of, again, kind of like the Saskatchewan thing. Okay, I'll be here for 3 years. The Germany thing was, okay, well, I can commit to the 5 weeks and I can get the team through Eurobasket and we'll do what we can.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, we qualified for this and now we're going to the Olympics. And now I'm kind of committed until 2026 when we host the World Championship. So,
High
yeah,
five. Good
thank you.
job.
So, yeah, it's again one
Nice.
of those things when you don't expect it or aren't looking for it. Um, yeah,
Mm,
something really cool can come from it.
definitely. What strategies did you use for, like, this
Yeah,
is significant achievement to even lead them to something they haven't done in 26 years. Like,
yeah, yeah.
what did you have any strategy, or you just wanted to come in, you want to see, okay, what's going on, and then, brainstorm?
Um, yeah, I definitely had some thoughts. Initially, it was okay. Well, yeah, let's see where we're at. Let's see, the human resources that we're working with. Um, but then it became very, very soon after we got together, it was trying to come to a bit of a shared purpose. Like, what do we want to do this summer? We're going to Eurobasket for the first time.
Mm.
Um, what what are we what do we want to do? Like,
And you
is it okay to
openly
go?
spoke with them about that? Like, did you?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah, for sure. So that was a big part of kind of our preparation and just kind of getting them to think about this. Like this can be a really impactful moment for German basketball. It's going to be televised. You're going to get young girls in Germany watching what our national team is doing. They probably don't even know some of the members of our national team. And so just talked about, the impact it can have on a grander scale. And really what we came to is the purpose was show that we belong. And so going in, it was kind of like, can we win a game? Can we
Mm.
show that we belong at this tournament, that we're not like the lowest ranked team that's going to Eurobasket, or that it's a fluke that we're there. And so that was our mission, that was our purpose. And our first game was against France, obviously international powerhouse of women's basketball, and we were beating them for a good chunk of the game and kept it close. Ended up losing at the end, and we had to play without a couple key players who were injured, and so we knew we had to kind of save them for the games that we thought that we could win. So that first game, even though we lost, was a massive, I think, confidence builder.
Yeah.
And then we went on to win some very close games and get us through to the quarterfinal, and then to qualify. And really, like, we wouldn't be in this situation if it wasn't for we had to score a basket with 0.4 seconds left in a game to tie it, to send it into overtime. And that was the game that we ended up winning to clinch a spot to play for a berth to the OQT. And so that was actually an incredible moment, because I'll just tell you that story briefly.
Mm-hmm.
So we had been winning, whatever. It was against Czech Republic, and game comes down to the wire. We had to win to get a chance to play for 5th, 6th to go to the OQT. And we had the ball last possession and got a shot, an offensive rebound, blah blah blah. The ball ends up going out of bounds, and Czech Republic reviews it, and we ended up getting the ball. At any rate, we call a timeout and we call a play. And Eurobasket was being televised, and the cameras were right in. Whoever calls the timeout, the camera is in your timeout.
Mm.
And so I drop a play, and we go out, and we find out after the fact that the Czech Republic, they had someone watching the telecast, and they knew the play that we were running, and they knew who the play was for. But so because they had that information, they called the timeout then, back to back. And as our team's coming back into the timeout, I'm like, that was a dumb play. I should not be running it for this person. I made a mistake. I need to run it for this person. So I had no idea that the Czech Republic had watched and knew who the play was for. I just thought that was not a good play call. We need to adjust it. So we adjust it in this timeout, go back out, and you can see as we run the baseline at a bounce play, the Czech team is prepared for who I'd said in the first timeout what the play was for. And we ended up getting it to Leo Fibik, who's now on the New York Liberty, and she got it, and in the air, she hit a shot off the glass with 0.4 to go to send it into overtime. And then we ended up winning in overtime. But it was just like this incredible moment of holy cow. And then after the fact, learning about that story was just like, oh my goodness. Wow. So, I mean, heartbreak for Czech Republic, but absolute like elation for our team.
Well, that's what they deserved at the end of the day.
Well, they could have made free throws.
But they got offensive rebounds. They had shots around the basket.
Svenny, you got it. Em, you're going to come around and you're going to the corner. Leo's going to come right after and curl it. If we've got it, like over the top on a lob, you got to just catch and shoot real quick. If nothing, then we're going Sunny, the second curler. So we got two people curling. If she's open over the top, give it to her up top.
It's a tip in.
Yes. Yeah. You got to go.
Is this actually a tip in?
Yes.
This is a decoy.
Decoy.
Okay, good.
Decoy. Okay, you're going. Yeah. Curl. Two curls. Leo first, Sunny next. Let's go. Team.
The other day that went against them, against Hungary, and gave possession to Hungary, who then capitalized by making the jump shot. And now Germany, with 0.4 seconds left, they can take a jumper. I mean, if it's 0.3, I think you have to throw it at the rim. With 0.4, technically you can take a jumper.
A little bit of a tip in, but I think you can catch the ball and tip it, not...
Vždycky domluvit situaci. Tahle v tuhle chvíli buďte odstoupená o něco víc, je to pořád pecák. A vy tady, jestliže tady bude sem, jde s ní naše krajní. Nahoru jde, nahoru. Jasně, switch, jde s ní krajní, ale musíte být pod, jo?
A co když se semřel a bude nahoru?
Jedna musí.
Vy se domluvte, já si myslím, že... Kolik dolů, Grajnacher nahoru.
Přebíráme a ty jdeš nahoru, jako jo?
Grajnacher bude nahoru, protože dala trojky. A kolik bude dolů, protože hraje
Jedna se postavte mezi ně, abyste brala nahoru, jo? Jedna se postav mezi ně brát nahoru, jo?
Well, there we saw the assistant coach from the Czech Republic taking over that timeout, and obviously they called the timeout, wanted to see what players, and maybe he's scouted some of Germany's last second baseline out of bounds calls.
Okay, well, let's see what Germany are going to try to do, and watch the Czech Republic as well. The Czechs will not want to foul. That's another issue that they perhaps have to worry about. And they do get it to Femia. She ties the game! Now, they can review this to see if she got it off in time. This will be close.
Wow, that's good.
And I think since then, I think there's now a rule where they can, I don't think they can have cameras in the last few minutes of the game or something, or there's no audio. Anyway, there was some adjustment to it because, I mean, that's just, you shouldn't be able to do that.
No.
But it all worked out, whether it was
Good
karma
gut
or whatever.
feeling.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
You should trust your gut feeling more.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'm hearing that the Germany, the girls, they are buying into, like, they love it, as they are committed to whatever they can achieve. That's amazing.
They are. Yeah.
That's good for you. You
Oh,
know,
you
like
know,
when
like-
you don't have to like fight with, hey, you know, like we can do this, and
Yes. And that was for sure a concern coming in. You know, when you're a new coach working with a new group, you just don't know. Like, did they love the last coach and they're like upset there's someone new? Were they, you know, where are they all coming from? But it was like complete buy-in from day one. And there were a couple athletes that, you know, again, I tease them after the fact because I'm like, oh man, you were a tough nut to crack. Like every meeting we had, it was just like serious face and, you know, wouldn't speak up. But we got there. And then when you know, then it becomes so much easier when you have these moments, when you go through tough things together and you have these like emotional wins and victories and again, moments for your team, then it becomes so much easier. And then, you know, fast forward to the OQT, and again, another incredible moment where that was another like incredibly gutsy performance. So since last summer, then we added the Sabali sisters, and they weren't with us last summer. So again, you're adding a new dynamic, new personalities, new players, and key players that are going to play a big role on our team. And so in February, Satu actually, in our very first game against Serbia that we ended up winning, she tore her labrum. And we thought she was out for the tournament. And the one win against Serbia wasn't going to be enough, as we discovered as the tournament went on. So we were in a pool with Serbia and Australia and Brazil. And so we're playing in Brazil and go up to the last day. And we realize, okay, with the point spread and everything, we have to either beat Brazil or lose by up to 4. And Satu went from being out for the tournament with a torn labrum. But when she knew that we had to win or lose by up to 4, she made the decision to like essentially like put her career in the balance and took the chance to and decided to play. And so she put everything on the line at the shoot that morning. Like, she's a lefty. She was shooting with her right hand, and I couldn't believe it. And I guess she's ambidextrous, but she competed that night. I thought, okay, well, can she even pass the ball, catch the ball? Like, is she just going to be a decoy out there? No, she started the game and attacked the hoop and drew fouls and was putting herself at risk through the whole game. And we ended up winning the game.
Wow. Just
because of like the grit and the composure that our team showed. You know, even though they had never been in that situation before, it was incredible. So it's like just this galvanizing moment, you know, and then they made history because Germany's never been to the Olympic Games before. So yeah, you know, when you have things like that just line up and happen for a team, it's it's incredible. You know, you can work with a team for years and years and years and not have one moment like that, let alone a couple in 1 year's time.
Wow. I'm happy for Germany. Definitely a team
nice.
I'm going to be cheering for
Sweet.
this Olympic Games. One thing I wanted to also, I don't know if you saw, but I did the same episode like with Sabine. Ducati.
No, I haven't seen hers. No.
Yeah. So, and we were talking a little bit about her experience coming from Europe and
Okay.
Canada, and
Oh
you
gosh.
as her coach.
Oh gosh.
She said terrible things about you.
Yeah. It was a love-hate relationship for a little while there, I'm
No,
sure.
I'm just kidding. You have to listen to it. But
Okay.
what really is gonna stick out to me for the rest of my life probably is that, you know, Europeans, we are used to different coaching style, and she said, like, when I came to Canada, I just couldn't adjust that quickly because I was used to coach yelling at me all the time. And I came to Coach Lisa's office and I said, "Hey, Coach, can you start yelling at me, you know?" And he said, "No, I will never disrespect my players like that."
Okay.
And I love
Aw.
that.
Aw.
I think it's so
Jeez.
important. But yeah, like that's I don't know if every coach would say that, but that's gonna stuck out with me. And it's not coming like from a coach who doesn't have experience or who is naive, you know, to whatever they are doing. And this comes from like a impressive, well achieved coach
Mm.
with experience. And do you have any comment about this?
Her, again, all of these become funny stories after the fact, but when you're in it, it's not so funny. But we say to this day with Sabine, like, I don't think she smiled the first year with us.
But she didn't
And
smile in Latvia either. So
yeah, exactly. And, I think when I'd always try to find ways to just talk to her or find out a little bit more like where she's coming from, how we can relate a little bit better, because again, like how she related to her coaches over there was very different. And so she wouldn't acknowledge, she wouldn't make eye contact, she wouldn't smile, she would, and all things that I think in our Canadian culture, we're always looking for. Like we're always looking for acknowledgement. If I say something, okay, like eye contact, nod, anything, just like tell me
did you
you
hear
heard
me?
me. Yeah, just let me know, throw me a bone. um but yeah, and she had just said, like people here, they still play for the fun of it. Over there, I was playing because it was a job,
Mm,
and so there was not a lot of enjoyment, I think, at the end of her time before she came here. And it was just sad. and
yeah.
and so you just
And I
wanted
know
for her to
so
like,
many players right now, even who feel exactly that way.
yeah.
So Canada, go save your
Yeah,
career to
exactly.
Canada.
Exactly. Come and
But
have
this is
fun.
exactly what happened to me. Like, okay, in Latvia, I love basketball, but then in the States, it was bad.
Really,
Hated it.
really.
Yeah. But also those injuries. I never had like after like the peak. It was always like this some setbacks, but
Yeah.
it was
You
also
battle a lot, right? Like
mm, six
serious stuff.
total
Yeah, oh my gosh.
concussions. But when I played in Canada, I truly was enjoying it. Like I was so happy to play. And when you are happy and you feel free, you play well.
Oh, you could see, like, when you were playing at your best and not hindered by injuries, it was incredible
We
what you
almost
could do on
beat
the
you.
court. Yeah, you're telling me. It was, you had an incredible game against us, and I would just remember thinking, oh man, I don't know if we're going to survive this. If she is on like this is going to be a tough one. But like, not only could you score, it was your passing ability and ability to set up your teammates. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I enjoyed
Thankfully, we
playing point
survived.
guard. I liked to make them better.
You could see
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But I remembered what I wanted to say in the previous
Okay.
one. I wanted to say that probably you're gonna have lots of German players in University of Saskatchewan
You
afterwards.
know, I tried to get a couple. I tried to get a couple this year, but they're still living the NC2A dream, and
Mm,
it's a really hard. It has to be like the perfect fit, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
because like for our programs, to get an international, they have to be like a Div 1 talent. like you, right? Like to come and make an impact in Canada, you've got to be good enough to be getting Div 1 offers. Well, if you're good enough to be getting Div 1 offers, you're getting Div 1 offers. And if that's your dream and that's, maybe what you need to do, need the extra support, whatever, that's where a lot of
Sure, but
people are going to
also
go.
many become miserable, and if you choose to still do what you like and be happy, or you just
Yeah,
go and sit on a bench and uh, regret the choice you
that's
made.
right.
So you have a
There's too
chance. You can
many.
transfer.
Yeah, that's right. There's too many that come home after a year or two or transfer and go
Mm,
somewhere else. And I think for us, maybe we're like an opportunity. If it doesn't work out, okay. Um, but again, we're also Saskatoon, so we're not Toronto, we're not Vancouver. When Europeans are looking at coming to Canada, it's not like Saskatoon is on their radar. A lot of them are just like, where are you? Like, you're in the
yeah,
middle of nowhere.
true. But at the same time, just use your opportunity. I wanted to just get my foot in Canada. I
Yes,
went to Lethbridge. That's even
yes,
less than Saskatoon.
yes.
So, but now I'm in Vancouver and I'm building my life here. So,
Totally,
mm,
totally.
and also
Yeah, it's
Europeans,
amazing.
we can suck up some things, like
Yes, you're
history has
used to
been,
some toughness.
yeah.
Yeah, it's never been easy. So yeah, that's really why I love foreign players, or because you've had to endure, you've had to withstand, you've had to get over some hurdles, you've had to go through some things that are really difficult. And the best players that we've had are those that face adversity early in life and have to
Mm,
overcome that. They haven't been given everything in their entire life. They have to work for it, they've had to earn it, they've had to, like I said, overcome some adversity. To me, those are the ones that are going to be your high achievers.
mm,
So
yeah,
yeah.
adversity definitely strengthens you. How does it feel for you to like be in like Europe and like because people in Europe are different, like the same people maybe you work with coaching staff or
Hmm.
federation. Is it
Yeah,
okay adjustment for you?
it was really funny last year because, again, when I was with Canada, we built the program. There were, I think, over the course of my time with them, we went from being a staff of head coach and a couple assistants and a physio and a manager to then we had a staff of, I think, 12 or 13 by the end of my time with them. And so a big part of the job was just managing your staff, not to
Mm,
mention, the federation and how much control they had, and input that they had. Again, we were ranked fourth in the world at the end of my tenure, and it was like Olympic medal or bust, essentially,
mm,
um, before COVID hit. So going from that type of environment to Germany, where like their women's program, I want to say, was basically an afterthought um, before this past year. So it was literally like, go do your thing. So
mm,
we landed, and it was me, and I brought two Canadian assistant coaches, and then there was one German assistant coach who coaches pro in Germany and had been with the national team for a number of years. And she was incredible because she brought some stability. She gave me all the background, the history, knew all the athletes. So it was this like fantastic group of the four of us with some support staff. We had great strength and conditioning coach, um, doctor, but he wasn't with us full time. But it was this small unit
mm,
and just the athletes. And it was just fun because you could do your thing how you wanted to with the people that you knew best, trusted the most. And it was just us.
mm,
So, that was cool. It was a really neat experience. It was a very different experience,
mm,
but it kind of felt like us against the world, right? And
mm,
we might not have had the most support or the most this or the most that, but no one cared. We just were there to work our tails off and see what we could do. So
mm.
that
But
was different, but it was fun.
I think mentally you prepared yourself for this challenge, and so when you brace yourself, you're kind of like,
Right.
whatever comes my way, I'm
Yes.
gonna get
Yes.
through it.
And there's
Mm,
something about being an underdog, and
mm,
just kind of going in with nothing to lose and just trying to overachieve, get as much as you can out of the group that you're working with.
mm,
Um, and that's, yeah. super rewarding when you can do that.
Mm-hmm. Let's touch, since we mentioned mental side.
Hmm.
So mental performance, how do you think important it is in like mental performance, sports psychology for an athlete? And
Yeah.
maybe how do you make sure your athletes are mentally prepared?
Hmm. I think it's important at all levels. It's like becoming more and more important. Um, and I think at the highest levels, it's really the separator, right, between those that compete and those that win. Um, and I think being able to be prepared for what you're going to face, um, to be able to play your best in the biggest moment, I think takes a ton of mental strength and fortitude and preparedness,
Mm-hmm.
um, and confidence. And I think some of that is, I think some athletes are kind of born with it, like are already kind of wired that way, and they have, just like physical skills, they have some strength there, but it's always something that you can work on and get better at.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for a lot, like we didn't have any mental skills support at all in the last year with the German team. I think a lot of our athletes work with someone individually, which was great to hear that they're
Mm-hmm.
accessing some services and they have their person that they can go to. I think from a coaching staff standpoint, what we do is, again, try to support, try to build confidence, try to prepare them as best we can for what they're going to face. How can we either mentally rehearse, like maybe not saying we're going into like a mental skills session, but how do we kind of mix these things into our training so you're doing it without talking about it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of sneaking it in. Like I like to think I'm a pretty, like, I don't get too riled up emotionally in game
Mm-hmm.
moments. So like to feel like I'm providing some stability and some calmness within the craziness and chaos of a game. Um, so just trying to, again, think of ways where we can best prepare these athletes to perform and to be at their best in the biggest moments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that many times athletes actually are dealing something not related to the sport, but that really affects how they perform?
Completely.
Yeah.
I think that's everything. If you don't have stability and, um, I mean, in your personal life, in your life outside basketball, how can you possibly be at your best on the court?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, a lot of it is controlling the controllables, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
um, and not stressing about the things that you can't control. But yeah, the things that you can, how can you look after those? How can you, yeah. So I think, yeah, as coaches, we definitely have a role in that, and communication, being able to just be informed of what our athletes are going through can help, I
Mm-hmm.
think, in big ways and small ways.
Yeah. And one more thing. So, this year has been very significant for women's sports,
Hmm.
especially like college basketball, WNBA. It's amazing to see this.
It is.
What's going on finally? Mm,
Finally.
yeah. What do you think? Like how that will shape the future of women's sports?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's been there for a long time. There have been impactful personalities in women's sport for years and years and years. There've been high performers. The WNBA is an incredible league. And
Mm,
yeah, for whatever reason, the Caitlin Clark effect, the women's NC2A tournament, it's like all of a sudden, all of this like groundswell of support has just like come to this moment where we're getting so many more people on board
mm-hmm.
and people behind women's sport and WNBA and basketball. And so it's incredible to see. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I don't think anyone could predict when this moment was going to happen, but it's finally happened. And now a matter of just continuing to leverage this attention and this level of support, and to make sure we just continue to grow it, you
Yeah.
know. So it's super exciting for people in women's sport, and from all aspects, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a coach, whether you're in production, whether you're in, you know, athletic training or sports psychology. Like, now all of a sudden you kind of feel like there's going to be more opportunities opening up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was talking to someone the other day, and I think they referred to the NBA as the men's NBA. You know, like, before that was just the given, right? If you said pro basketball, it was just, you knew it was the men, and now to have to differentiate
Mm.
is is good, to know that
Yeah.
there's opportunities for women out there, and people are taking notice. It's incredible.
Yeah. So are you moving to Toronto in 2026? Because I
Not as
see you at that level for sure.
not as far as I know, but I mean, that's amazing that Toronto's getting a franchise. You know, it's about time. I think
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Can't believe we don't have it yet.
we've been dreaming about this for years. I think, you know, when I was still an assistant with the national team, and the WNBA had obviously already started, but I remember sitting down and talking to our head coach at the time, Alison McNeil, and she was saying, could you imagine, you know, if we ever had a pro league in Canada or a WNBA team, and just like what that would do for our sport. You know, now we clearly have the talent. We have the support with 2 sellout crowds in both Edmonton and Toronto last year. Um, and now to get, you know, Larry Tannenbaum and his company behind us is amazing to see. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, hopefully it just, like, again, continues to spur on even greater support, and more growth in the game, and women's pro sport in general.
Yeah. So now they're gonna franchise in Toronto, then in Vancouver.
There
So
you go.
perhaps you have to like jump in on one of them.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
But
we'll
yeah, it's
see.
just great that there's the opportunity now, and that it's coming. So it's
Mm-hmm.
exciting.
Well, I still hope one day you will help Latvian women's basketball team.
Oh, you're sweet.
Maybe.
You
I'm
just
I'm
never
trying to
know.
recruit you now.
Yeah. Role reversal, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's incredible, like, what can happen, you know, when you least expect it. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I've been very, very fortunate.
Yeah. And I've been fortunate to have you today on this episode. I really enjoyed talking to you. And thank you for your time and your insights. And good luck with Germany.
Thanks very much for inviting me. It was great chatting with you too.
Yeah. Thank you.